So we are starting with the main screen. Okay, so we did this trip at the end of March, beginning of April, which is a little bit off season for them. Rainy season is through our winter months. And from this point on, when we were there in April, they weren't expecting any more rain until November. And so you'll see a lot of things that are dried up, and that's because we were just past their rainy season. So just a little introduction to Africa in general. What I learned from taking this trip is that Africa is just huge. You can see how many of these different countries fit into the whole size of it. The US, China, India, Japan, and the European countries would all fit into the size of Africa, which I found really amazing. And if you look at it compared to South America, you can see the difference in size too, even taking into consideration the fact that it isn't the rounded type of map that we have. And it's also not as far south as South America. It's about even with Buenos Aires. South America goes all the way down, in fact, off this map a little bit closer to Antarctica. So, and many more countries as well than South America. So where we're going is Botswana, which is this country just north of South Africa. It was originally a British protectorate at the time that South Africa was ruled by the British as well. And there are 8 major tribes in Botswana. They speak Tswana, T-S-W-A-N-A, and Ba means people of Botswana, people of the Tswana language. So that's where their name comes from. And here's a little map. I've got that move window thing again on this, and I don't know what to do with that. So this area, if you know about Botswana at all, you probably have read the First Ladies Detective Agency book series. Now I think they're up to 23 of those now. Absolutely delightful books. They're based in the capital of Gaborone, and they're wonderful if you haven't read them, and give you a good idea of what the people are like in Botswana. In fact, it was one of the things that drew me to this country. The other thing that interested me was the wildlife area, which is up in this area. So the Mon is kind of the gateway to this. In fact, most of the people that we came across here that staffed these camps were from Mon. And this is a huge wilderness area, the Okavango Delta, where the rivers from Angola and Zambia flow into this area and flood it during the rainy season. And mostly in small rivers and in these pans, which are shallow lakes. And of course, during this long dry season, they dry up. But because there is so much water at one point here, rather than in some of these neighboring countries, the animals come into this area in order to have water, because particularly the elephants and the hippos, they need water every day and lots of it. Even not only just drinking water, but they sunburn, which I didn't know either. They sunburn and they need to be in the water, and they'll throw water on themselves or even roll in the mud in order to keep from burning. So we were up in this region right here, and right here where you see Kasane, that is the gateway to the Victoria Falls, which is on the border of Zambia and Zimbabwe, of the Zambezi River, which is flowing along the Angola border. So we were in this area originally coming from Cape Town, flying a small plane to Mon and then into the Okavango Delta. This is not an exact map of where we were, or where the camps were, but they were in this area with these rivers, and then kind of gradually coming over to Victoria Falls. It wasn't a map of our own trip, but something similar to it. Oops, I want to get back here. So Kathleen gave me a good introduction to how did we get to take this trip. We had been on, 14 of 15 of us had been on a trip to Cape Town, which we'll be doing in December, I believe. And 7 of us followed up with the safari. I thought if I'm going all the way to South Africa, I wanted to do a safari, probably be my first and last chance to ever do that. And I'm really, really glad I did. So the company that I looked for companies that were recommended online, and several answered my request for proposals. The one that we went with is this one, the Conservation Safari Company, based in Johannesburg. And I think that Gail would agree with me that we were very pleased with the accommodations we had, with the guides, with pickup and delivery. You know, you pay a lot of money and then you think, well, am I going to get out to the airport and is anybody be there to actually take me to where I was supposed to go? You never really know. So everybody was where they were supposed to be and did what they were supposed to do. So that was a reason for me to highly recommend them. Very well organized and nice people to work with. So they set us up with two different camps. The first one was called the Pom Pom Camp. Both were in the Okavango Delta, as I said. So we arrived from Cape Town at this little airport in Mon, where most of the workers were based, in this tiny plane. This is actually the luggage compartment. And we were instructed to take only duffel bags or something that they could stuff behind seats, which you see here. And because they weren't going to have room for big roller bags or the kind of stuff that we Americans usually take on trips. So we had to fly pretty tight. We did have one person who joined us late in the game. And since I was traveling and he was traveling at the same time, he didn't get the memo about the roller bag. So we did have one roller bag, but he took up the whole thing. So we had to pretty much work on our own bag somewhere else, but limited space. So if you plan to travel to Africa, you'll be asked to do that. So this is flying over the Okavango Delta. As you see, it's a huge area, over 360,000 acres. There are no signs, there are no billboards, there's no electricity, there's no paved roads. There's no CVS on the corner if you run out of something. Now the camps do have made really basic things like toothpaste and things that you can buy from the people who live around there, art things. But mainly you're pretty much on your own. You better take everything that you're going to need so that you don't run out, because there's no place to go down to the corner and get anything. The camps have their own generators, and that's where our electricity came from. Other than that, I would have been completely lost trying to drive around this area, which we did. So this is our welcome to the Pom Pom Camp. And the camps look pretty much like this. They're open air, and they'll have animals all around the area. And everything that you do is right there. Here's the big roller bag. And the ladies who greeted us every day. Now they did our cooking and they cleaned our tents, which were our rooms, and had hot towels for us at the end of the day when we were hot and dusty. So they were just always smiling and always delightful. And we really had such wonderful helpers and cooks, and the food was out of this world. They just did such a great job for us. So in this main building, we had the bar, and our trip included drinks whenever you wanted one, help yourself, wine with dinner. You know, there weren't extra charges tacked on every time you turned around. There was one flat fee, and it included everything. So this is one end of this main place. The other end of it, I'm looking from the bar, looking over where we had dinner, and then out into the backyard, so to speak. There's a kitchen and the little store and bathrooms were back over here. But we could come in and sit in this area anytime and be looking out at wild animals. So this is the back of it. You see Pom Pom and the thatch roof looking out into the main building. And looking out our first night, we could see the elephants out there and some impala. This area, as you see, would have been one of these pans. Should have been a water hole, and very nearly dry at the point where we came in. So there were animals out there as we were having dinner and walking around. These are some of the red lechy that we see all over. They're very like the impala. I'll talk more about them a little bit later. There's a little bit of water left, and on our last day, this was the last of it. The hippo was making his last foray into it. So the tents were very nicely furnished. They were, maybe half a block a piece. So we were isolated from each other. Most of them were handled two people, and we had a roommate, of course. Our bathrooms were very nice, but you can see this is a tent. And one night we did have an elephant who bumped up against our tent and was rather loud. But we didn't really hear people around us in the other tents. So we were kind of out there by ourselves. And at night when it got dark after we'd had dinner, one of the guides would walk us back with the flashlight to our tent, and then we were in for the night. And the way we saw this area was sitting in these Land Rovers, and we weren't the only people there, of course. There were various other camps that were owned by other people. And we had a guide and a tracker. This was our guide for this one. He's showing us this tree right here, which had been really banged up by elephants. They do cause a lot of damage, and they break off branches and things like this quite easily. So we were in open air Land Rovers and absolutely forbidden to stand up. And I got caught doing that as we were pulling away from animals who could no longer see us, but got really chewed out about that. So that's a no-no. So this is our guide, Dalton, and he's showing us one of the things that animals eat in the area. Most of these animals are eating trees and grass and that kind of thing. And then we, of course, have the predators like lions, but a lot of these animals eat vegetable types of things. And this is a very hard fruit on the outside of it. He's showing, this is another time he showed us one of these sausage fruits. And so most animals can't bite into it, but once an animal does bite into it, it shows all this stuff in the middle, and then the smaller animals can get these that are dropped on the ground and get some food for themselves. You see he's a certified guide with his badge there. And the guides have to be certified by the government. They are very, very conscious about environmental issues and about protecting their wildlife. I was really impressed with how knowledgeable they were about the animals, about the terrain around there, about keeping animals safe and keeping people safe. Just very, very well educated in that. So just to look at some of the animals then that we saw, lots of zebras, lots of elephants, and you see the haze in this picture. And that's from fires that were over in Angola nearby. We were almost on the border. And we'll see one where we see even more of the smoke. Sometimes even we could see flames. But we were told not to worry, so we didn't worry. Oops, we don't want to go too fast here. Sometimes this clicker goes a little quicker than I like. But lots and lots of elephants. We'll see those all along. All right, cooperating with me. Lots of giraffes. Several hippos. The hippos were farther away. I don't have the clearest pictures of them, or the rhino that we saw, but I have a few. So here are these red lechis and impalas. They're hard to distinguish. They look alike until you see a little black dot close to them, and these would be the impalas. So that's really the only way. Otherwise, the red lechie look just like these. And I have a few videos, so let's hope that they will work. And this is one of just some of the various kinds of animals, sebes and impalas walking around. And the next one is, you're gonna have to look really close. In fact, I'm gonna show it twice because it's really got a little more action in it. So let me do this next one.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And these are impala.
It is.
Just jumping. You see the little signs with deer jumping. Well, these folks did. So let me show you that again. Be watching right at the beginning.
Oh, wow. Wow. Amazing.
It is.
For them to jump us.
So these animals will move together. Here's this other kind that we saw in the other picture with them, Sasebi. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing that right, but another in the deer family. So this is my rhino. I have a couple of pictures, but this was a way, way off. Most of the animals that we saw were pretty close up. The impala, the rhino, they kind of stay away from people, but other animals don't seem to mind us being just right there. These are warthogs. They're maybe the size of a big dog, and they're lunch for the predators. Wildebeest are interesting animals. They keep moving all the time. Some of this, lots of smaller animals. I didn't get a real clear picture of the baboons, unfortunately. I have better pictures of monkeys at the falls. But they are up in the trees chattering away, even around all the tents. Lots and lots of birds. And again, some of them are too far away. I have a better picture of this lilac-breasted roller. Lots of eagles, lots of water birds that will be around all these water holes. And I can't even begin to identify the maybe 2,000 kinds of birds there are in this area. And look at the area around that we're looking at, grassland, low bushes, some trees, some will be more forested than others. One of the interesting things that we saw too were termite mounds. And these are termites, like get in your house. And they build up these huge mounds up to 10 feet tall. And the predators like to get up on top of them because they can look around. They're up high and they can see those warthogs and impala moving along and see what's for dinner tonight. So, or they might dig little holes. We found that one of the leopards had dug a hole and he popped out too quick for us to catch a picture of him, but he was making his home in there. So this is our tracker who is tracking us cross country. And one of the things to know too about booking a trip there is that there are several national parks like Chobe, but they have restrictions about where these Land Rovers can go. They have to stay on the roads. Well, you can imagine that these animals don't abide by that. They go cross country. So we, not being in a national park, could go cross country through the grass, up and down little gullies and through the bushes and the whole thing. So sometimes it was a wild ride. And I purposely put this one in to show you how close we were to the lions. They were right there. Now they paid no attention to us. And I asked our guide, well, why aren't they bothering us? Why don't they see us as lunch? And he said, well, they just smell diesel fuel. And to you, you're just another big animal that they're not concerned about. We don't bother them and they don't bother us. So they just moved around like we weren't even there. But there might be several Land Rovers around watching a pride of lions and they would just ignore us. So there was this old lion, this old male lion, and of course, mainly the prides of lions are females with the younger ones. And the old males are by themselves, or maybe 2 or 3 would be with some of the females. So this old male lion was being challenged for territory. They are the ones who have their territory with their females that they would mate with, and a younger lion might come along and run them off, which was the case here. He was challenged by a younger one. And so he was running off. He was chasing him. The younger one was chasing the older one away. So we're cross country in this grassland in the Land Rover, bumpity bump. And following this, we followed him maybe half an hour. No roads, just to see where he was going to go.
This one is the owner of this area. That one is an intruder. So he was just want to check if there's any male lion in this area.
And he would stop and look around and see if the other one was coming, and he was, so he kept going. So I think he ran him clear off of his territory. So I'm going to stop that. One of the days we had a little boat ride on a shallow river that was on this property, or near where our camp was. And it wasn't very deep. We did see some crocodiles, but I didn't have a chance to get a picture of them before they slipped back into the water. So they're just poling because it is so shallow, but we got a nice change of being in this peaceful river. Let me say a word too about what our normal day was. We got up very early and had a very light breakfast about 6:30 and got up and got in the Land Rovers as the sun was coming up, because a lot of the animals do get out early and it gets hot during the day. So in the morning was even cool enough to have maybe a jacket or a long sleeve shirt on. But around 10:30, we'd come back and have brunch at the lodge about 11, something like that, and stay at the lodge until about 4 in the afternoon. And it got really hot in the afternoon. As I say, this was not even the hottest time of the year. So it is a good time to go because it isn't really hot. So this, of course, then it would be a morning outing, and both in the morning and our late afternoon, we would stop mid-morning and mid-afternoon for a break. And they would have all sorts of things to eat and drink, little snacks and all kinds of drinks. Here's Gail. And here we see some of the smoke from the fires in a couple of miles away from us.
So Mary, the
Yeah.
animals don't seem concerned about the smoke.
They might where the smoke is, but they'll come into this area. They'll just move. They'll just move out of the area. Excuse me. Well, every night we were there, of course, we had a beautiful sunset, different sunsets. And there may or may not be animals in the pictures, but we would stay out until it got dark. And of course, there are animals that are nocturnal, so we would be looking for them on our way back too. So this is our group that we had, the 7 of us. Detlef was from Germany, and Gail and Donna from Wisconsin, Eleanor from San Antonio, and me, and the Worrells from Ross and Russ from Donner Lake, California. And of course, our always smiling hosts.
And Heinrich,
Dietrich.
Dietrich.
Mhm. I'm sorry, Detlef Heydrich.
Hitler.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, our second safari camp then was La Bala, also in the same area. And we again had a transfer that you see it's not a real airport, it's just a sand runway. And this was our view looking out a little greener than we had been, a few more little streams and some pans that had water. And of course, these should all have water in them and were mostly dry at that point. And our entrance into this camp had some little carved animals along it. Pretty much the same kind of setup, a little camp store. And this group was nice enough to buy me a beautiful necklace and a bracelet from this area, from this little store. So in this one, my roommate Eleanor and I had a 2-bedroom tent, and she got to have this one, and I was just on the other side of this wall. Interesting a double shower. I'm not sure how many people want to do that, and a modicum of privacy with it's an outdoor shower. And some of us having a little relaxation during the time. Trying to find one of the maps. As I say, there are no roads through there that are paved roads. There are these little tracks. I'm going to show you what they look like, what the roads look like, but they were turning here and there, and I had no idea where we were. When they got close to camp, they'd give them a little call on phone or radio or whatever they were using. And so the ladies would be there to meet us with their nice little wet washcloths to let us wipe the dust off. But you do see some of the rivers along here, and we'll see how the elephants found them as well. So here are welcome people with our towels. So as I say, I was really impressed with how good they were at their jobs. Again, he's a certified guide. They're looking with their binoculars, they're looking for animals, they know where they go or tend to go, and they're watching for tracks in the road. So this is the kind of road we had. They're all sand roads, and they're never going to pave these because you see the tracks in the sand. That's how they can tell where the animals go. So if an animal stops and cuts off this way, we'd go through the woods with them.
Yes.
He had a different kind of Land Rover too, where he sat up in front. So this particular day, we were looking for elephants, and this was a herd of 24 elephants they knew about that came to this river. So there are several young ones who would have been born probably around Christmas time, 3-4 months old by this time. And they were having lots of fun playing in the water. And of course, some of the elephants would be teenagers born last year. This lady turned toward us and started flapping her ears. Now, this is a sign that we were too close to her little one, who was back here behind where we can't see her in this picture. But she had a little one with her, and they know we're around, and they don't seem to bother with us as long as we don't come too close to their babies. So if an elephant turns and starts toward you with ears flapping and starts trumpeting, that means you better move, because they can overturn a Land Rover and nothing flap. They're huge. I think we missed, yeah, we missed another video. And you're going to want to see this one. So the elephants are coming down to the river. And we were on the other side of the river, so they weren't concerned about us at all in this at this time. Now just hang tight, there'll be lots more coming. You're going to see two in this picture, in these pictures, this video of the matriarch. So I say many of these tribes are matriarchal tribes. The males tend to go off except during mating season. So the matriarch and the elephant, you will know her when you see her. She's much bigger than these others. She's probably the great grandmother. So these will be family groups of sisters, cousins, daughters, who all hang together. You still haven't seen the matriarch, but tell me when you see her. You see the little ones in the water? The two little guys right under the feet here. Here she comes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you can really tell which one is the leader of the group, and she will lead them away from the water when it's time to go to another place. So she knows where to go for food and for water, particularly if things have dried up. See the bunch of babies coming in this line. So our guides tell us, I did not count them. They told us this was a herd of 24.
Well, is she the matriarch because do they do the fighting like the males do, or is it kind of like the oldest?
No, she's there because she's the oldest and has earned her place in society.
Okay. And is she biggest because she's oldest, or was she just big?
No, I don't know why she's so big. I don't know if they keep growing bigger to all that size. I should have tried to look up that answer, but I didn't. You can also call those elephants, as they're coming along like that, a parade of elephants. I found too that there are different ways to call them. For example, the giraffes, if they're standing there looking at you, and they tend to like to do that, they'll stand there and they'll just watch you. They see that you're there, and they don't seem to care that you're there. They don't run away, and they're not afraid of you, but they're called a tower of giraffes if they're just standing there. If they're moving though, let's see, what do they call them? They're called a herd if they start moving along. So there are different ways to, now this is these are not the same ones we saw, the 11, there are 14 of these, but some of them will just stand and walk, and some are gradually moving away, slowly away. They're not afraid of us. And in some of the wildlife parks, they will even stick their head in your car window. So they're pretty inquisitive. But we saw lots of family groups with smaller 3, 4, 5, 2 giraffes. And some just kept looking at us. It's like we're looking at them and they're looking at us.
Someone asked, can you hear me?
Yes.
Someone asked about going to the restroom. Yes, we did go to the restroom out on the savannah. The guides would drive around an area to be sure that there were no animals in the bushes.
That's
And
right.
then we would stop. We would take care of our business. We would put whatever tissue we had in a paper bag. Nothing is left on the savannah, and it
That's
is all
right.
taken back so that our presence is not evidenced by the animals.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I brought that up when we were talking about a couple of weeks ago about the hiking in Croatia. It's the same thing where you're out all day. You have to.
Yeah. Well,
do
someone had asked on the chat, so I thought I would
Okay.
just
Yeah, I was going to mention that again.
Again.
This one, but so I'm glad you brought it up. Here's one of the pans that, again, I didn't count. They told us there were about 45 hippos in this. Again, you see the water was deep enough here that they could at least submerge a little bit. Just one of the hippos walking along another river. And they too are really huge animals. If one of them decides to step on you, you're going to know it. So these are these hippos coming in and out of the water. So lions, we need to talk about lions a little bit. We got up close to the lions. I said they think we're diesels. They're taking their afternoon nap. The males have eaten and they eat first. And if it's gone, then the rest of them don't get anything. That's the way it works. So here we have what they call Pride B. There are 2 prides of lions at this camp or in this area. And this one had a bunch of females and several little ones, a couple months old. And they were playing with the mamas or playing around. See the little babies, they're so cute. Little pussycats. But the males were just kind of laying under a tree and they'd had lunch, so they didn't care. So what they were, though, they were always looking for a meal. And they would try to pick a high point to look for him. And we would see, here's this lazy guy. They would get up on a little hill and they were always looking for particularly a lone animal that they could catch easily enough. And of course, the little guys were sort of in training and they sometimes mess things up for the ones who were the real hunters. So these are all the lady hunters watching for a group of warthogs that were coming by, stalking them. And they're very quiet and they're going little by little. Everybody's watching. But one of the little guys ran out and scared them all off. So no lunch of warthogs today. So in case you can't see these warthogs up closely, this is what one looked like from another time. Not very particularly pretty animals. And here we have another group who's also watching these lions. Zebras are everywhere too, very pretty animals, babies as well. And they often are with the wildebeest. You'll see them together. The wildebeest are interesting because they're always moving around. They're just milling around and the zebras are just standing still like statues. But they often travel together. They're not, they both eat grass, so they're not interested in each other or killing each other. So here are the zebras just paying no attention to them.
So by moving from one node to another, that's how they mentioned that there's a distribution of different genes.
And just a couple of other kinds of animals that we saw, the spotted hyena. And not all these are very good. These little jackals, I didn't spell that right, it's EL. I'm sorry, I just now saw that. Playing with an old shell from a tortoise. And of course, as I said earlier, we saw lots of water birds. You see a whole bunch of them down here. Here's my better picture of the lilac-breasted roller. One of the few names I did write down and remember. And ground hornbills, so that's the real thing. So here's our evening break and some more beautiful sunsets in this at this camp. And as we came back to camp, as I say, it was already dark, so we'd be flashing the light back and forth to see if we saw any animals. Sometimes we see some lights glowing. We did see the big 5, except for our leopard. He was elusive. Now we knew that there was one there. They've seen him before. In fact, I think there's even more than one, but they're hard to find. They kind of stay out of touch. This last day that we were at La Bala, there was another couple, an English couple there who rode out with a different guide in a different Land Rover, and they saw the leopard. So this is from Sue Reynolds from England, who was good enough to send us that, send me a copy of that picture of the leopard afterwards. Okay, come on. Let's see if we can go back there. And this is our group at our second camp. Again, lovely, lovely people, wonderful food. And our last night was especially special, where we had a candlelight dinner out in the bush, down where our camps were and where our tents were, but all outside. A little nervous about that, actually. And we even had some music to go with that. And the ladies, at least one of the ladies could sing the appropriate song from Lion King. She's our singer back here. So they made this really special for us. Everything about it was just so well run, and as I say, beautiful food. Little planes that come in would have sacks of potatoes and onions and vegetables, and we always had fresh food every day. It was really, really excellent. So we're ready now to leave for Zimbabwe, and don't have too many pictures left, Kathleen. You might get your recipe in yet. Leaving for Zimbabwe and our waterfalls. So we flew into Kasane Airport, which was still an hour away from the falls, a long wait at the border. But coming into the entrance to it, this is the guide we had that took us along it. The visitor center at the very beginning shows us a map of what it's like. Here's the Zambezi River. It's coming over these falls, but also kind of a J shape around this way. This is the picture you saw, Kathleen, that you liked. The tallest of them is Rainbow Falls right here at 351. You might ask, of the three major waterfalls in the world, Niagara Falls and Iguazu and Victoria, how do they rank with next to each other? And I can tell you all about that. So first of all, Victoria is different at different times of the year. We were very lucky that the water was still running as it was going to end very quickly. So if you've been to Niagara Falls, it has the most volume. If you've been to Iguazu, it is the widest width. Victoria Falls, the highest drop. So they're in these three continents. Cecil Rhodes was the explorer in this. The Zimbabwe was originally named Rhodesia, as you might remember. And so you'll see statues to him in South Africa and in Botswana and in Rhodesia, or now Zimbabwe. So this is the picture that was on the flyer with this J-shape falls coming around this way into this canyon, around 300 feet. So just looking at some of the beautiful pictures, always this mist falling and lots of rainbows. As we got up closer with the gorge narrowing, it got rather wet. I'm going to play just a little bit of a video so you can hear the falls. Just a little bit to see what that sounded like. But always this mist coming up from the falls, and where it's quite narrow, they gave us raincoats to wear, because if you didn't, you would be soaked. And here is our group with our raincoats. And all of us safariers. And coming back along, not right along the cliffside, but along a little path back, we saw lots of monkeys. And they just chirped at us a little bit. And of course, the neighborhood band was out, as you might see at many of the attractions, and just a little bit of that. And you're supposed to tip them, and of course you exit through the gift shop. Lots of the local carvings and different pictures and fabrics and things like that that you can buy there. So this is the end of my presentation. Again, looking out across the gorge at evening time as we were ending our stay at Victoria and our 2-day journey back home.
Well, I know you have quite a few questions. Yes. So
okay, what
access those. So that was really amazing. I'm going to start like at the end and go back, just so we'll cover the ones that are closest.
Okay.
Someone had to leave and they said, thank you so much. It was marvelous. Carol Barron said she was there in December at Victoria Falls one year, and we did not have near so much water running as you did.
Yeah, it
And
can
you
vary.
answered,
It's completely dry during the dry season, usually.
let's see, how long did you spend in each camp?
We were 3 nights in each camp and 1 night in a hotel at Victoria Falls. So a week altogether.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, I guess we answered.
Answered them all.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I did come up with some other questions while you were going through the pictures. Let me just, one, were the zebras bigger than you were thinking? They looked really big in your pictures.
They're kind of fat, but they're horse size. You've all seen zebras, I'm sure.
Well, they looked bigger than the wildebeest. And I guess I thought wildebeest were big. So maybe they're
roughly the same size. Wildebeest are skinnier. There's just a lot of bulk in a zebra.
okay. So their rainy season, tell me again, is from when to when?
Kind of November through about March.
November to March.
Yeah.
Is the rainy season.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this will be a swampland mostly. There'll be some dry roads through there, but a lot of this will be water.
Okay, so while you were in your rooms, they were open air except for the bedrooms, and those had a door on them that you could close at night?
They had a zip, just like a tent would, a zipper tent, so you completely closed in.
Okay,
You could
so
hear animals walking around, either monkeys up running around on our roof of our tent and elephants coming by bumping the side sometimes. So,
okay, well,
because they weren't right next to each other, we were, like half a block apart. So we couldn't hear people in other tents at all talking, but we would hear animals coming by, or even up on our porch. We'd see poop up on our porch in the morning, like a baboon or something.
well, I was wondering if animals would come up.
They do, but they don't come in, or they don't try to come in that I know of.
Okay.
Gail, do you want to tell anything about your experience in the tents?
Can you hear me? Yes, okay. The tents are on stilts so that if there is water around the camp, it's not in your tent, and there are steps up to your tent. What did you want to know more about the tents?
If you had any other experience than we did with animals around your tent.
Yeah, we did have a monkey.
Yeah, we had monkeys.
Yeah, they were joyful to have around. Birds around. We heard animals at night, but of course we didn't know exactly who was out there.
Yeah. It's
But
very dark.
They don't
Very
try to
dark.
get into your tent. Your tent is a good quality of siding, and there are curtains on every single room with a window so that you're completely enclosed in the evening.
Yeah, you could tell.
Were there many mosquitoes?
No.
There are no street lights. There's no lights for hundreds of miles. So when you get out at night, it is pitch black. Wouldn't you say that? Yeah.
Yes.
Pitch black.
Which is why you don't go out at night without the guide with a flashlight.
Yeah. Yeah. There are animals walking around.
So were there many insects?
I don't recall
No.
any. Do you? I don't recall. No.
Okay. What about snakes?
Didn't hear about
No.
snakes either.
Okay.
I don't think they'd survive in that.
Yeah, because it floods.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Floods
And
every year.
besides, they would be eaten.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, well, that was fascinating. That looked like a trip of a lifetime for sure. Yeah, thank you, Mary.
Definitely recommend going if you've never been. It's just, you've never done anything like this. Wouldn't you say that?
Oh, I know.
It's just such a different kind of trip. And every day we just kind of looking around and say, I just can't believe I'm here.
Someone wanted to know, like, approximately what kind of cost are you talking about for a
Expensive.
safari?
Expensive. It depends. You can go by yourself even. You can book these by yourself. There you can camp out yourself. I wasn't comfortable doing that. You know, I felt it would be worth it to be at a place where they knew what they were doing and would take us around and show us what we needed to see.
Sure.
So it was worth it for me to do it that way. But you can spend $25,000 a week. You can spend $500 a week. Ours was, I'd say, around 5,000 a week, wasn't it, Gail? Around that area?
Yes, yeah, I was thinking how many thousand it was. I couldn't recollect.
Yeah, something like that. So it's not cheap. But
And then your airfare's extra. That
well, some of it
airfare
is,
is extra.
the airfare between camps was included in that. It was kind of a package. So we got to Mon. We had to pay for getting to Mon and then back from Victoria Falls to Johannesburg and home. That we paid for. But the flights within from one camp to another, that was included in our price. And all the pickups and deliveries and all the food, all the booze, the guides, everything was just one price. You weren't dinged for anything else.
Right.
Okay, and then, like many resorts, do you leave tips for everybody when you leave?
Yes,
We did. Mhm.
Okay,
I think we gathered up.
like housekeeping gets a tip and the guide gets a tip and all that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think we had a group tip because we didn't always know who did what for us.
I'm sure.
So Kathleen, I wanted to show really quickly, our son and daughter-in-law went to a wildlife preserve just south from there, and they got to see a leopard. So that's a picture our son took of this guy. So
yeah, wow.
Yeah, that's the only thing we really missed is not getting to see a leopard, but we did see a lot of other animals and
Yeah.
a lot of interesting things, learned a lot of interesting things about the countries.
that is terrific.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Wow, well, thank you. That was phenomenal. Does anyone else have any questions? I don't think we only have 4 minutes, so I don't think we'll do the recipe.
The only thing
Uh,
I wanted to say is that there are more budget ways to do it. We did one with Smart Tours. We went for 2 weeks. I just looked up the price. It's around $3,600 with the airfare for 2 weeks. And we stayed in hotels, and even on the game preserves, we were in a room with a door.
Cabins.
Yeah, in a rooms with doors. We weren't in tents, so it felt quite safe.
Yeah, I know there are cheaper ways to do it. That's why I said there's a huge range depending on what you want to do.
And we did see a leopard, but from far on a branch.
Retreat, yeah. They make sure you see the big five. They really work on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in that 2 weeks, there were 3 safaris included, plus all the other touring around South Africa.
Mhm.
It was well worth it.
As well as Durban.
Yes, I think so too.
Okay, has anybody else been on a safari?
I was also on a safari in Kenya.
Oh,
Yeah, so we also did not see the leopard other than in a animal sanctuary. We saw one live leopard, but otherwise we saw the other big 4.
Mhm. Mhm.
And of course, the animals are different from the south to the north of Africa, the continent of Africa, because they just live in different areas sometimes.
Yeah.
So you see more of one type of an animal than in another area.
Yeah, and Kenya has that
Okay.
migration, and Tanzania, so they have that great migration where you'll see huge herds
Yes.
move.
We
So-
did.
So
We
each area
saw
has
hundreds and hundreds of migrating animals.
There's different things to offer.
So at what time of year would you see that big, like the big wildebeest migration?
the migrations, I'm not sure. Do you know that, Gail, when the migration takes place?
I think it's in the
Oh.
summer, our summer, isn't it?
Yes,
We were there
yes.
in the summer in Kenya,
Mhm.
and the migration was ongoing. As far
Mhm.
as the eye could see from left to right was filled with animals
Mhm.
moving.
So that is their winter.
Their
Yes.
winter?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, their dry
And
season.
we're right on the equator when we're in Kenya.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What we did when I looked up the weather in terms of when they would have less mosquitoes. So we didn't have to take the mosquito, the medicine.
Yeah.
Only
Malaria medicine.
once, two days before one place, and that was it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I
They had
remember,
mosquito nets
we
in
did.
Zimbabwe. When at the hotel in
Yeah.
Zimbabwe, they had mosquito nets on the beds,
yeah.
but
I
there
heard
weren't
that
any
about Zimbabwe.
mosquitoes and we were able to leave the windows open.
Mm.
We went on 2 safaris, one in Sri Lanka, which was an elephant safari.
Yeah.
And in India, we went on a safari and it was sensational. Middle of
And
India,
ti-
I don't remember where it was, but it was absolutely fabulous.
In India, it was the tiger safari, the tiger.
Tiger safari, that's
That's,
right.
yeah, that's when we
And,
did.
and we just, because we were there anyway, so we just loved it. We had a wonderful time and you stay you stay in houses and it was terrific. And the one in Sri Lanka was incredible. We just went by and we were number 50 of 50 Jeeps that were on the safari.
Mm.
Mm.
A lot.
The one thing I would tell people to do is take with them like a little cushion or really fat jackets to sit in the Jeep, because it really hurts your butt day of on those metal seats. So
Mm.
you cushioned in and made it
Lot
better.
bouncing up and down.
Yes, exactly.
Well, in India, we did so much bouncing up and down on those roads that my phone showed that we had 38,000 steps. Even
You're not going to
Well,
have
we
cell
had
phone
padded
service either
seats.
out in the wilderness. It's dark and it's no electricity. They did have a place where you could power up your phones
Yes.
at the main lodge. We didn't even have electricity in our room. The first one, I think we did in the second one, but they're trying to upgrade a little bit. But it looks beautiful, but there are certain things that are primitive, like roads and electricity and that kind of stuff. So
We did
I
have
see
padded
I
in
see
our
Donna
Land
has joined
Rovers.
us. I want to say hello to Donna too. She was on this trip as well from Madison. Hello, Donna.
With Donna here now.
Yes, I don't know if you heard all of it. Donna, did you hear it all? You just get on. It will be put up on the YouTube channel. If you didn't, I can send you a link to it when it goes up. So if you missed it,
Yeah,
you can see it
Thank
later.
you.
just to add a little aside, anybody who's interested in these big cats, there's a place just north of Jacksonville, Florida. It's called Caddyshack, C-A-T-Y.
Caddyshack.
And
It's a what is it?
it's like a rescue area for all these cats from all over North America. People who end up with getting a small little cat,
Caper Killer Kitty.
tiger, they're afraid to take care of it. Anyway, it was fascinating because you could go in there at night or at dusk and watch them all being fed
Hmm.
and eat them all.
Wow.
Yeah, I can recommend a good movie too called Duma, D-U-M-A, about a boy, I think it was filmed in South Africa, who rescues a baby cheetah whose mother has been killed. And as you say, when they get bigger, then what do you do with them?
Right.
It's an interesting story and beautiful wildlife shots in it.
Mhm.
I support a Black Pine Animal Sanctuary in Albion, Indiana. And they just took in about half a dozen big cats from a place where they were not being cared for properly.
Yeah.
And so sometimes they're moved by court order into animal sanctuaries in order to keep them alive and keep them safe and healthy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you, Mary.
Does that?
yeah, that was
memories for you?
wonderful.
I got to
Yeah,
see
that was great.
I got to see the trip from your Land Rover because I was in the other Land
Another
Rover.
Land Rover, right. Yeah.
So that was exciting to see your viewpoint.
Mhm. I think it's always fun. Yeah, I had 2 pictures in there that were not mine. One, Roz World took one of me. And the other one was the Sue Reynolds took one of the leopard, but the rest of them are my pictures. Or as
They're
the
gorgeous,
map was
Very,
also
very
nice.
good photography.
really.
I don't have the camera to get the, like these birds that are, a block away. My camera's not that good, but this is just with a cell phone.
I did. And so in the morning, when all of these birds were at the very tops of the trees,
Yeah.
I could zoom
Yeah, I could zoom, but some were better.
in
than
and get beautiful photos of the wide variety of eagles and larger birds
Yeah,
that were hunting in the morning.
yeah.
Gail, when you were taking those photos, did you need to use a tripod to keep it
No.
steady?
No, I just have a little handheld camera. I just zoom in and I can take a photo of the eagles, their variety of eagles and hawks and get a beautiful photo.
Well, I use the zoom too, and this camera on my phone is better than my camera, so I used that.
Mhm.
And I didn't even bring a camera. I
Yes.
just only the phone camera.
Wow.
Yeah.
A Samsung Galaxy. They were rated the best camera. When I bought a new phone, I looked for the best.
That's amazing.
So I did what I could. A lot of them were close enough that we got great pictures.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually going to sort of end our program officially, but if you want to, I think Mary kind of froze, but me. Which probably means I froze and no one else did.
Yeah, Kathleen, you're the frozen one.
You're the frozen one.
Probably. Well, thank everyone so much. And
thank
we
you all
now know our program. What, Mary?
I said, thank you all for coming.
Yes, we really love having friends and visitors come. And so next week, Billy is going to be sharing New York State.